I'm happy today about today's video topic because it's this nice intersection of Stoic beliefs and game development, which, of course, two of my jams. But it's just about the fact that something is only too late if it's your last time doing that thing. And I say it's a combination of those two because part of the Stoicism stuff is about not being filled with regrets, about not overly thinking about the past in ways that are harmful to our present and our future. But that where this came out of in the game development context was one of our project leads we were in our final week for this project. It's a cool project. The project's coming along great. But realizing after he had done some things a certain way, he's like, I'm seeing a better way I could have done that. Right? If it would, now it's not worth the work to go back and clean it up and rearrange it and fix it all. But having now done it the bad way has a much clearer sense for how he wishes he had done it. And the reason why I say it's not too late unless it's your last time doing it is this is the learning process, right? So much of, actually 100% of my experience in game development, the reason why people can schedule calls with me and off the top of my head with no preparation of what they're doing, I can fix their problem within an hour talking them through it is because at some point I had done it several different ways that were incrementally less bad to the point that now I can just see into the future. If I can see where this is going, I can see how you got here. I can give you some context for that. But the learning gets applied on the next project, on the project after that. And it's part of why so much of our foundational approach and my approach to helping train people in game development, and as in so many other things in life, is just about making sure that, well, if this is your last project, then it is too late, right? If you step away from this, if you quit after that song didn't do well, if you walk away because one YouTube video didn't get a lot of views or whatever, well, then you're right. Then it's too late to change that. But as long as you're going to do more videos, more songs, more games, more books, more of the thing you're out to do, that's where you're able to apply that information. That's where you're cumulatively only going to get better. And you decide whether you get one project of value out of it, 5 projects, 10 projects, 100 projects, 1,000 projects. It is literally up to you how many projects it's not too late for, because now you know it. And so often what ends up happening is that people will have some rough experience when they're starting out in any field. And again, game development is one I'm closest to, but applies equally so to many other creative and technical challenges in life, where they've done it a few times. Or maybe it's not even work at all, right? Maybe it's not a creative outlet. Maybe it's literally they've had a few bad relationships personally, a few attempts at socializing that didn't go the way they wished to. They went to a few networking events and didn't feel like it was a place that was working the way they wanted to. Part of what happens then, unfortunately, is that if that leads us to say, swearing it off, well, then I'm not going to keep doing that kind of creative outlet. I'm not going to attempt to be in relationships. I'm not going to go to networking events, whatever the thing is that's for you. Or again, might be parties, right? Not just networking events. If it didn't go the way you wanted, and you quit, then your experience is worthless, right? Then your experience, you're right, it's too late to apply what made you wince, what made you think differently about it, what made you realize, I talked too much, or I didn't talk enough, or I would do this so differently next time. You decide that there's a next time. And this is how you wind up building skill and depth in something. And especially in game development, part of why my approach to the craft is so the way that it is because of the amount of people I've seen over the years who they got valuable experience, stuff that would have made them a huge asset to themselves and future teams. Literally every team they're after in their life, they would not make that same mistake with. They would not do that same thing the same clumsy way that they ran into the downsides of the first time or the second time or the third time, but only if they keep doing it. Which is why we have an approach that makes sure that it's not putting all the pressure on, well, if this game's not successful, I can't keep doing game development. Right? That's why from the basis of our approach, it is a training, a practice philosophy, a freeware model of doing what we do in home team. And it's just that what you're doing, counting on, there's going to be learning in the process. And to apply that learning, I need to be able to survive a failure of it by some metric. Obviously, failure doesn't have to be seen as failure if it's learning from it, but it's really only learning if you're applying it to something after the fact. Failure in the sense of, if it's not a hit, well, I can't keep doing this. If it doesn't break out and do well then maybe it wasn't for me. And that's got the wrong model of seeing the world, right? That's seeing the world as if I'm either good at things or I'm not. I either can do this or I can't, rather than the learning experience often comes from we run into the problem and then we do it. And this is also something, again, I'm used to having. I just had another conversation this morning with a guy on the other side of the world about that. This is very much our learning approach of the traditional way of learning, right? Is that you walk into a lecture hall, you open up a book, and somebody is just spitting facts at you, right? Just dumping in front of you tons of information that maybe you'll need this. Maybe this is going to come up. Maybe it won't apply to you. Maybe some part of it you already knew, but you just got to sit there for it. And instead, our approach, right, is that people do stuff. They do what they can. They apply what they think. They try things the way they think they ought to work. And then when and if they get stuck, they turn to me as their insurance for, I can bail you out of that. I can talk you through that. I've seen other people make the mistake. I spend all day talking to people through those mistakes. I've made those mistakes. I can talk people through those mistakes. And then that is where the learning is most valuable, because that means that you've pinpointed to that was the gap. That was the edge of your learning. And it takes away that anxiety of, shoot, a team's counting on me, or I've kind of built up my hope around being able to release this game by January, and is that going to happen? And it means that, yeah, it will. That's why I have their backs in our group. That's our philosophy of learning, is you go until you get stuck, you reach out to me or one of our trainers for helping you get stuck, and that's how we help them. But it's helpful because sometimes, again, the learning isn't even, okay, well, let's fix this here. It really might be, leave it broken. Leave it badly done. Leave it inefficiently done. That's why all the future projects are going to be more valuable too. And that's actually also, again, a deeper form of learning because it's personal, right? If you've had a teacher, a professor, somebody, a book, you saw a YouTube video and someone said, don't do this, right? Don't ever do things that way. You don't really understand how or why that was the way to not do it. Not in the same way you would if you had tried it and met the limit of how the hacky code got you in trouble, of how the cutting corners became a problem later in your schedule, about how you had too much or not enough detail in your schedule. You got to make those mistakes for yourself, to learn for yourself, to internalize it. That's what makes you valuable, because now you see the edge. You see how actually there are situations where doing that approach is actually a better fit for a certain scale, approach, genre, reason to justify it. And you've got a much deeper sense of, if that same problem's happening another way, another form, you can recognize it because you have that personal experience, because you have done something that it was too late for, but then you kept doing stuff anyway. So it wasn't too late to apply what you learned to everything after. And again, you decide whether it's 1 more, 5 more, 10 more, the rest of your life more. But you only get that benefit if you keep doing it after you've had some things that cratered, canceled, didn't go well, ran into problem, felt stuck on, felt helpless on. And that if you try to avoid all that stuff, you're not going to get the learning experience to make you more valuable to yourself and to others as a contributor going forward. Can't just see it as, well, I'm going to find the first thing I can make no mistakes in, or you're going to wind up clinging to something that isn't that interesting, doesn't have that much depth, can't keep growing in. That's it for now. But yeah, it's only too late if you decide to stop applying your learning. And as long as you kind of find a way to keep on doing it, then it's going to be a small part, right? There's far more game development ahead of you, or music making, or writing, or making videos, you're streaming, going to events, whatever, than there is behind you if you choose to. That's it for now. Catch you another day. Bye for now.